haven't watched anything past like 1986 in so long. I need to, like, literally, it's probably been about 6 weeks. Like, the last 2020 film I watched was way back when we did the last podcast.
Oh, wow.
That was the last one. So I think like Palm Springs, like that was it.
Oh, wow.
Brian. G'day, Brian. What's up, most excellent dudes? Right back at you, buddy.
Yeah, I would recommend one I also checked out today called Below the Man Down on Amazon Prime original. It's so fucking good. It's this quaint little New England crime thriller that's actually kind of got some great funny bits too. It's almost like I wouldn't call it like a Fargo light, but it's kind of a Fargo light, and it's got some really good like characters, and they all have like these really great moments, and it's so intrinsic. It's so New England, like it's such a New England film. It's fucking awesome.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm sold. I mean, I as you know, I'm not a huge fan of Fargo the film, but Fargo the TV series is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And I do like that style a lot.
Have you been watching?
Doug's just turned in. G'day, Doug.
You've been watching the new season of The Boys?
Sorry?
New season of The Boys, you've been checking that out?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh.
I've watched the pilot episode of Lovecraft Country, and that's literally the only 2020 thing. I've got The Boys. I've got the 3 episodes of The Boys to watch, and I've got Raised by Wolves. I'm dying to watch it.
I really like that. I was surprised how much I like that.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna pull the trigger on both of those this weekend.
Nice.
Although the problem is the Tour de France is on, and Fiona is obsessive about it.
Loves that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it, but I watch it for the scenery, because it's just so beautiful to watch. And you just go into the fucking Pyrenees for fucking a month. It's great, wine country, and it's wonderful. But yeah, but because of that, I sort of have to wedge in me watching anything but that. So I've tended to be working every night.
Cobra Kai is my jam. I have watched Cobra Kai 3 fucking times now, all the way to completion 3 times.
Me too.
With 3 different people. Like, I keep showing it to people who haven't seen it, and like I'm just like, yep, there it is. I'm gonna watch this whole thing again, I guess. So yeah.
Well, the last time I watched it was just one of those comfort food evenings, and I was like, I just got a half an hour before bed, and I'll watch it. I haven't watched Cobra Kai for a while. I'll watch the pilot episode because I just finished season 2. And then before you know it, I went through the whole fucking thing again. It's so much better than it should be. It's such a sly takedown of nostalgia and class and fucking the way that it tackles fucking how toxic those two are. Like, it's just it's fucking awesome. Like the way that there are no heroes.
Yeah, they're just a couple of fucking boners. Like, they really are just a couple of fucking boners.
Who live in the fucking past. I mean, actually, this is probably going to be the best segue we could ever do for what we're about to talk about. But yeah, they're just 2 fucking boners. They're 2 fucking assholes who live in the past, who are defined by what happened in high school, who are completely oblivious. No, it's really, really a good show. I just like how savage it is, and how, again, like, it's kind of it's so misinterpreted by so many people, like what they're doing. They're just
and all you want to do is
all the other nostalgia strokes are generally just that, whereas this one's kind of this backhanded fucking slap.
Yeah.
Which again kind of perfectly segues into what we're about to talk about.
That's right. So, Adam, my excellent friend, what do you say?
John, my excellent friend.
Let us take.
Shall we go on a most bodacious journey?
Oh, absolutely. That sounds most non-heinous to me. So let's get after it. I'm feeling pretty good about this.
Me too. Totally. So welcome to Comfort Food Podcast, episode number 4. 4th one we've done of these. We really love doing them.
These are so much fun.
As everyone here knows, the new Bill and Ted film just came out. And that's about all the excuse that John and I needed to go back and watch all of them.
Yeah.
And then once we watched all of them, we're like, well, why not fucking go and bullshit about them? Someone's got to be interested in talking about them. So here we are to chat Bill and Ted, and chat all things Bill and Ted, because now it's a trilogy.
Yep.
It is now a trilogy. For
better or worse, it is now a trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get into that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone on record many times as saying this 3rd one was something I didn't need. I didn't want. I wasn't interested. The trailer did nothing for me. I was completely indifferent until I found out that Face the Music was directed by the guy that did Galaxy Quest. Yep. That was literally the thing that changed it from I was going to have to watch it sometime because Fiona's such a big fan to, okay, we'll do this. And then as soon as I even mentioned, because we had a dentist appointment last week, and I'm like, my phobia of dentists is off the charts.
And
3 Valiums later just to get a cleaning. I said, after we face that fear, how about we come home, get drunk, and watch Bill and Ted all day? And that's what we did. And it was fucking great. Because I couldn't score weed, damn it. So, yeah, so alcohol it was. And it was a really fucking bodacious day. It was fucking cool. I watched it with my niece. So we haven't actually even discussed format. We'll just go through each film, starting with Excellent Adventure, which is behind us right now.
Now, a motion picture so grand, so magnificent, and so vast, it spans 7,000 years.
No way! Yes way!
But it starts with Bill.
I'm Bill S. Preston!
Who was Joan of Arc? And Ted.
Noah's wife? We're in danger of flunking most heinously tomorrow.
A force from the future.
Can we go anywhere we want at any time?
You can do anything you want.
Is putting history at their fingertips.
Let's reach out and touch someone.
They're traveling through time.
How's it going, Royal Ugly Dudes?
Put them in the Iron Maiden.
Excellent!
Execute them.
Bogus. How's it going, dude?
And they're making a big impression.
Historical babes.
Now they're home.
Everybody get together, remember who your buddy is.
To trash the 20th century.
You got a live one here.
Keanu Reeves, Alex Winter, Napoleon.
We're from history.
Billy the Kid.
Oh my God.
Joan of Arc. Sigmund Freud.
Tell me about your mother.
You a musician?
Beethoven.
Genghis Khan!
Abraham Lincoln.
Party on, dudes!
Socrates. George Carlin.
We're history.
If you guys are really us, what number are we thinking of? 69, dudes!
Bill and Ted's
Excellent! Excellent!
Excellent Adventure.
Party on, dude.
Do you have any all-encompassing thoughts before we begin?
I mean, as you know, I've been fucking foaming at the mouth for this to come out for literally years now. I met Alex Winter at Rock and Shock maybe like 7 years ago, and even then, it was like a fucking whisper in the fucking community of people who are Bill and Ted's fans. And I talked to Alex Winter for a good like 15 minutes about Bill and Ted 3, and I was just like, yeah, man, what's going on with that? Like, what are you guys doing? And he's like, yeah, we're trying to get it off the ground. It's been a fucking pain in the ass. And he was just like a super awesome guy. He was just like super nice. And you know, for like 7 years, I've been fucking waiting patiently. I was like, no, it's gonna happen. You'll see. It's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen. And then like last year, it started trickling out, and I'm just foaming at the mouth waiting for it.
No, you have been.
I fucking love it. There's no way Bill and Ted 3 could have met my expectations for it. I just love these films. They're such fun, good-natured films in general. I just love the idea of these two lovable dopes that are just so, they're just like so carefree and just good-natured that no matter what the situation is, they're always just so on the level and handle it most excellently. It's fucking awesome. And the fact that they just, who doesn't matter who they meet, they're just fucking smitten with them by how just excellent they are. So I am so excited to talk about these stupid, wonderful films.
Yeah, there's a purity to Bill and Ted that's. I should go on record too. I hadn't actually watched these films since maybe VHS. Maybe I watched them once on DVD.
Really?
But yeah. But I mean, I saw both of them at the movies more than once, and when I say I watched it on VHS, I watched it on like 100. Like, I was shocked that even after 20 odd years, maybe even longer, of not seeing them, Fiona and I were there quoting the whole fucking thing from beginning to end. Like, there wasn't one beat, one camera move, one. We didn't know inside out because neither of us had seen them for like decades, but evidently both of us had watched these films so many times that it was ridiculous. Yeah. But I hadn't ever watched them through adult eyes, so to speak. And I certainly hadn't watched them in the context of the times we're living in now. And there was just something, I was far more open to that purity of the characters.
Yeah.
This time, and that that carefree laserdaxical thing that you were talking about. That's of what they represent. But rather than talking in abstracts, let's talk about the first film first.
Sure.
So Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yep.
Released in 1989. Directed by Stephen Herrick, who'd just done Critters, incidentally. He had quite the run too. The guy did Mighty Ducks as well. Yeah. And that Three Musketeers with Charlie Sheen. And
Critters is fun.
Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. And Mr. Holland's
Good
Opus.
movie too. Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead is pretty fucking good. That movie's a fun like 90s flick. That one's pretty solid.
Yeah. So Stephen Herrick did the first film and directed it. And I mean, evidently, he had a run of fucking mega hits. Like, I mean, although the cult of Bill and Ted is bigger than the box office, I think.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
Bother to go and look at the thing, but I mean, I do remember though that everyone watched it when we were kids. Like it was the thing. It was, it didn't seem like any, just as many people were watching it as watching Star Wars, it seemed. Written by Chris Matheson, son of Richard Matheson, it turns out. I discovered yesterday when I was doing a little pre-show research. Richard Matheson wrote like Star Trek, Twilight Zone, I Am Legend.
Okay.
Like he's one of the great fucking sci-fi authors of all time.
Who's the other writer on this? Because it's written by two people. Well, all of these are written by two people. What's the other guy?
Yeah, that's right. And then Ed Solomon is the other guy who wrote it. Right. And he wrote Men in Black and Now You See Me. Yeah, Men in Black and your fucking favorite, Super Mario Brothers.
Such a
among many others. Yeah, but these two dudes only ever came together to write Bill and Ted films. They wrote separately. But yeah, it was quite curious seeing what the DNA of them was. And the most famous thing that the son of Richard Matheson's written, other than these films, was the Goofy movie. So yeah, and then you can't talk about Bill and Ted without starting with the two fucking megastars, right? Keanu and fucking Alex Winter.
Yeah.
Mr. Lost Boys, which as a kid he was as much Lost Boys as this film for me, Alex Winter.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I mean.
And fucking Freaked. Let's not forget about Freaked and how fucking awesome Freaked is.
It was, but I only ever watched it like twice, 3 times, maybe.
What? Dude, revisit Freaked.
I like it, but it's not my go-to compared to Lost Boys and this.
Freaked is fucking awesome. Freaked is I put Freaked and like Nothing But Trouble in the same sort of category of like these weird fucking movies that are basically just like sideshow fucking oddities. And they kind of both are like kind of similar in story in a way, but those are two fucking weird little movies that would make a good double feature one day. Actually, I'm thinking ahead of myself, but yeah, Freaked. Alex Winter. I think that he directed that too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He did. Yeah, so I mean, the chemistry between these two hasn't staled at all over the years.
I disagree, but we'll get into that.
Really? Well, so I'm talking watching Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right.
Their chemistry is still. As I said, I went into these not expecting to embrace them the way that I did, and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure really fucking pleased me. I found within 5 minutes I was just in love with watching it again. There was something really familiar. It was comfort food, and it was more comfort food than what I was expecting. The humor works great.
Yep.
The sort of juxtaposition of these two morons with a time machine, but harmless morons. And I think that's the real key that's really interesting about these characters, watching them through modern eyes, is that they're not, in most of those 80s films, the idiots were idiots that ended up accidentally hurting people. Whereas these are two idiots that accidentally help everyone all the time because they are most excellent. And watching it now, I also didn't realize, like, it's very much, the first film is very much what Forrest Gump was wanting to do, just much, much better. Where you got two people who are largely oblivious about witnessing these huge historical events and historical people, but are so good-natured and kind that they connect with everyone on this human level. Like, there's no pretension about them, and they don't have any of the baggage that anyone else would have, meeting Socrates. Which is still one of my favorite gags, the Socrates and the fruit dude thing.
Socrates.
So funny, Socrates. Yeah, but the fact that they aren't stifled at all by being in awe of these people, And so they just interact on a human level. And they also interact in a way where they're not giving away that these guys are going to become huge historical figures in the future either. Like, they never actually explain what these dudes do until the end. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just interesting too, how many time travel paradoxes they kind of avoid by being like that too. I just really, really, really like the first film.
I love everything. The first film's fucking awesome. I love all the side characters and that little, the acquisition of all the the historical figures, and just like one of my fucking favorite things, and I couldn't stop saying it, was like, I love it when he meets fucking Socrates, and he's just fucking he does the fucking dust, wind, dude, and like that's like such a fucking great like trilogy of words, and like just the way he does it. And something I never really caught before was when they take Beethoven, he calls him fucking, they just keep calling him Beethoven, and fucking I just love how they just like mispronounce the names, like Socrates. I love the fucking Socrates gag throughout. Napoleon is by far my favorite part of the fucking first film. Napoleon is just such a fucking awesome dickhead throughout everything, like the whole Ziggy Piggy thing, and just like he's always just so like shocked and aghast that anyone would fucking like treat him how he's being treated. He's just such a pretentious prick.
Al Leong as fucking
Al Leong,
is my favorite of them. He doesn't say much, but man, his physical acting is so fucking good, especially in that shopping mall.
Oh wow, Doug says the actor who played Billy the Kid played Ram in the first Tron movie. I did not know that.
He did. He did. Yes,
that.
Good fucking call. He did indeed.
Mr. the Kid.
Yeah, and I didn't realize like there's a big similarity between the fight in Airplane and the bar fight when they meet Billy the Kid too, in the way that it all unfolds, which supposedly was deliberate.
Oh really? That's awesome.
Yeah, and you know, one of the stupid things I didn't notice until this time that all the characters were on the blackboard at the beginning of the film.
Oh really?
Yeah, everyone that they pick up.
That's cool.
Is on the blackboard, which is which was a little thing that again, we've discussed how many times I've seen the goddamn film and I hadn't noticed that.
I also love that
George Carlin as Rufus too. George Carlin as Rufus, like I got quite emotional. There was 2 points I got emotional, and one was just seeing George Carlin, because there's just something really emotional about that. But when Beethoven plays his fucking thing with modern technology in the mall, I burst into goddamn tears, overwhelmed at the power of what was actually happening. Like, I really didn't see that these films were succeeding in doing more than just being mindless entertainment when I watched them as a kid. Whereas this time, there's kind of themes and ideas in each of the films. And I hadn't really given those themes and ideas the credit that they do for dealing with them in such a subtle way, and also a non-pretentious way, where it's a side result of what you're witnessing if you're thinking about it. And that Beethoven moment with the fucking
just like the smile he has, like when he starts playing this, like how he's just like, he's a fucking musician.
He's just getting introduced to all these new tools. He has all these new tools to express his genius with. And and that moment made me look at the whole, and I was like, hang on, there's probably other moments like this in the film. And I looked and I was like, oh God, there's a ton of little things in this movie that are really making a comment on so many things about history, about the power of history and the power of technology and the power of, there's a lot. Technology really is a thing that runs through all three of them that I hadn't ever picked up on either. Even when you're seeing Clarence Clemens' scene and talking, and there's just a lot going on in the films that is only there for wankers like me that are looking for it. But I hadn't noticed them before. There was a lot I saw. I saw this film through really fresh eyes this time that I watched it.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you've always like, I've always like fucking talked about how much I love these movies just for what they are, and you always just kind of, I know you've always just kind of been like, yeah, I need to revisit them, but like, just I'm fucking glad you got a little bit more out of it. And I've always liked I like the they're just such good. These movies have such good heart. Like they're just such good. Like there's such good heart to these movies. Like they're such good characters. They're good people. Like it's just all about. It really is just all about like being excellent to each other. Like I love like the message. It's great.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing with it too is that because I kind of the reason I don't put them on the pedestal you do is because to me there's Wayne's World and there's Bill and Ted, and they're both the same DNA. And I'm a Wayne's World guy. I am a Bill and Ted guy too. I've never said I didn't like them, and I knew I enjoyed. You know, as I said, I mean, you don't watch something over 100 times unless you really fucking like it, right?
Yeah.
But Wayne's World is the one that I've returned to time and time again. And also, just like Bill and Ted, Wayne's World has a sequel
that's better. Yeah.
That's that is equal to and arguably better than the first one.
Totally.
So without further ado, if you're happy, I would happily move on to Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, dude.
I have a feeling we're about to embark upon a most unprecedented expedition.
Once they made history.
I must see to it that you die.
Now, they are history. Bill and Ted are dead.
Welcome to hell.
It's the Grim Reaper, dude. How's it hanging, Def?
But they're having one hell of a time.
This is not what I expected this place to look like at all. We got totally lied to by our album covers, man.
Taking in the sights.
Not bad, dude. We totally knew a guy got one of those in his bucket of chicken.
Making new friends.
Excuse us, dude, but is there any way we can get back?
You may challenge me to a contest.
J7.
You have sunk my battleship.
Excellent!
Best 2 out of 3.
What?
Enjoying the family.
No way!
Invading the present.
I totally possessed my dad.
Battling the future.
You're metal, dude! Excuse us, but your shoes are untied. Can't believe we just smelled in death!
And meeting their maker.
Guy, congratulations on Earth! Not to mention your other great planets. Mars, Jupiter, Uranus.
It's the comeback of all time. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. It's a trip.
Best of 7?
Damn right!
Ah, dude! Left hand red.
Ah! Yeah! Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
There is one thing I want to touch on with the first one that I didn't really notice until this time I watched it. Was the part when they're in the mall and Billy the Kid and Socrates are fucking hitting on those 2 girls, and Sigmund Freud comes up and he's holding a corn dog and he's holding it straight up. And then the more he talks to him, the corn dog starts to go limp as he makes more of a fool of himself. I never like caught that before, and like the the phallic connection to it. But I thought that was a pretty great little fucking sight gag that doesn't draw attention to itself. Fucking movie's perfect.
Okay, so Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. 91?
Yep, 91.
Okay, 91, yep. So what, two years later, we had Bogus Journey. Something I found really interesting was it turns out, like, I thought it was an accepted thing that Bogus Journey, for most people, was accepted as the better film.
Sure.
As a kid, everyone, you know, anytime I meet Bill and Ted fans, it tends to be that Bogus Journey is the better film. However, Tony, a buddy of mine, pointed out that's a revisionist point of view, that actually, if you go and have a look, the box office was lower. And even when you look at like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, like the second film only gets 56%. And I went and read some of the old reviews of the film, and it wasn't embraced the way that I remember it being embraced. Like all of us at school loved, you know, I saw Bogus Journey on the big screen more times than I saw Excellent Adventure.
Yeah.
There was a time when I didn't actually watch Excellent Adventure anymore. It was just Bogus Journey. Like I've seen Bogus Journey more times than I've seen Excellent Adventure, and rewatching it this time, I'm standing by the fact I think it's the better film.
It is. It totally is. Yep.
Because it's so fucking wacky. Like if the first film is like Forrest Gump, the second one is a Tim Burton goddamn film. Like the cinematography, some of those wacky angles, especially the nightmare sequences and stuff. and the forced perspective and the sets and the production design and the like, it's visually, it's like fucking Pee-wee's Funhouse. Like
the second one, I feel like the second one has more. The second one feels like it has more of Alex Winter's personal touch to it. Like Alex Winter's got a very like stylized, like directorial style, and like you know, like we were talking about that show, The Idiot Box, that he used to do on MTV back in the fucking day, and like all of his stuff like that he wrote and directed, it's very like stylized. He's got like a very interesting style of directing. And Freaked is another great example. And Freaked and Bogus Journey have very similar like characteristics in as far as like the humor and just like the visuals and stuff like that and the gags. But yeah, like I feel like Alex Winter definitely had more of a like creative hand in the second one, and it comes through in the style of it. But yeah, man, the second one fucking rules. Like, everything about the second one rules so much. The evil robot us's, the fact that fucking the dude from Lethal Weapon 2 is the bad guy in it.
who turns out he fucking hated being in that film. The only reason he was because he had a bet with someone in his family, and he went on record in like 2012 saying that he was ashamed of it.
Really?
And that he regretted actually being in the film.
What?
Which is such a weird, like, of all the iconic things to be in and do.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, it turns out that critically and financially, this one wasn't deemed as the success that I remembered it in my mind, anecdotally. So Peter Hewitt directed this one. We should probably start with that. Who pretty much, I think The Borrowers is the only other thing he directed of any note. And The Borrowers is a great film. I don't know if you've seen the John Goodman one with the little people that borrow things. It's very, very cool. It's you dig it. You dig it. It's kind of like a Joe Dante style film. Not quite as wacky as Dante, but you know, this guy Peter Hewitt directed it because Buddy, who directed the first one, said he felt like Bogus Journey was a parody of a film that was already a parody, and he didn't see any point in making it, which is, you know, is what it is. But I also, one thing I did discover is these films changed so much from what they originally are pitched as to what they were. Like, I don't know if you, like, Bill and Ted were actually a stand-up act originally.
Oh,
and
really?
there were these two skinny loser guys in high school, and that's where the idea came. And the two dudes actually wrote it over like 4 days in a coffee shop. And it was a stand-up act they'd been doing. And then and so what it originally was going to be was a totally different sort of film. And there was a lot of the things we've said we like about the movies were actually not in it originally. In other words, the actual tone and stuff, like they were originally going to fuck up time in the first film. And every tragedy that happened to all the people and all the horrible deaths that happened to the historical figures was going to be Bill and Ted's fault.
Yeah. And
because they were idiots, they were going to blunder into ruining history for humankind. And they were going to be totally different guys until Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves came in and became Bill and Ted for them. And initially, the two of them were going to play opposite roles, and that also changed the script. But anyway, Bogus Journey was the same. Like, what it actually was conceived as was a very, very different animal to what it actually became over time. And yeah, what I like is the way it ups the ante. Like, you've still got your time travel angle, but then the death angle is dealt with in the same slyly, again, because Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure made me realize, oh, there's something more going on here.
Yeah.
I was able to look at Bogus Journey through those eyes and be like, oh, wow, you're making a real comment about life and death and circles and, you know, time is a flat circle. There's a lot of stuff about the cyclical nature of life and all of that in the film, and all the sets. There's lots of round edges. It's all like, and again, I don't know if this is intentional or not. This is probably just me being a wanker reading for it. But I was seeing, again, I was looking at it through fresh eyes. And so the gags still get, like, William Sadler, let's just fall on our knees
fucking awesome.
And say, like, it takes, I don't know how you steal a film from Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter when that film is Bill and Ted, but William Sadler does it so fucking magnificently. There is no one, you have sunk my battleship. Butch and Sundance, the early years. There is not one line delivery in it that isn't great. And one eye, like what he does with his eyes is so fucking great.
And I like the death is such a dildo too. Like, I love that he just fucking sucks. I love that he just sucks. Like, he's just so socially awkward. He just does. He just fucking anything he says. Everyone's just like, it's just I don't know. I think that's great, and I like the evil robots. I think the evil robots are fucking kind of better than Bill and Ted are in this one because it's like a hyper. It's just like a hyper realistic version of Bill and Ted. They're just cranked up to like 11. They're so fucking ridiculous. And there's there's just like some really great gags and some of the stuff that they do.
There really is. And especially showing arsehole Bill and Ted's it has some mileage. I will say though that the ending felt really flat this time, like how easily they're dispelled at the end. I know it's not an action film, and I know it's not, but the perfunctory way that they're disposed of, the evil is like just really was a little like, oh, I remembered it being more than that. And I guess it's just because it's so big musically that I forgot.
Yeah, they have that like great montage. I can imagine like making these movies, on like a limited budget and shit like that. You probably just had to. Like, I'm sure there was just like that's probably just the result of like, just we got to fucking wrap this up. What are we doing? Like, and then having that amazing music montage. Like, I love that, and I love the end of the second one. And I was honestly curious how the hell they were even gonna address that in the third one, if they were even going to. And they the third one managed to pull that off like in a fucking few sentences. Surprisingly, I thought that was really, really well done.
Well, one of the big reasons I said I didn't need the third one was because I do think it ends so perfectly.
Yeah,
and it's beautifully wrapped up. And that's the. I mean, do you want to move on to the third one?
I mean, unless there's anything more you want to say about the second one.
Well, I mean, I want to mention that it's Star Trek week. And everyone who knows me knows that I'm a complete fucking Trek nerd. And so Bogus Journey kind of rules for that. You got your Shatner moments. You got like the place where they get thrown off and killed.
Yeah,
is the mountain from one of the fucking episodes.
Yeah.
Enemy Within, maybe?
Isn't it the arena
but
episode?
Anyway, it's a mountain that fucking Shatner climbed. And best of all, Bill and Ted University is actually fucking Starfleet Academy. As in the location where it's shot is actually Starfleet Academy, which I had totally forgotten all those things. And I was like, when I watched the movie, I'm like, there's something really familiar about that fucking Bill and Ted fucking University. And got online, I'm like, Jesus. Yeah. That was really fun. And also got a shout out about Steve Vai and the fucking Reaper rap. Remember how I said like you knew every beat and line of the films, and because I watched it, I got up and did a whole impromptu fucking Reaper rap at the end because I remembered every fucking lyric.
That's awesome.
From the goddamn Reaper rap. And I don't know where that even gets stored in my fucking head. I didn't even know it was there.
In the most important part of your head, that's where. Yeah.
Or it's Paul Sweeper. The way he spins the fucking
Yeah, he's such a fucking boner. It's awesome. Like he's just such a fucking boner. Don't undermine my pot.
That fucking hand thing he does with the dance. Yeah, the physicality of it. I don't know. And also, I was really disappointed this time around. Like, I'm not sure if it was just my lack of caring, or I don't know what I can rule it up to after watching all these films, but in my mind, the girl from Better Off Dead was Elizabeth or Joanna in both of these films. But it turns out that in each film, it's a different.
Yeah, the princesses are different in each one.
Two princesses.
Yep, always different. Yep.
Yeah, and I never picked up on that as a kid, and I was a little sad because I was really happy seeing her because I hadn't forgotten that she was in Excellent Adventure, but it wasn't like, oh, that's one of the reasons I watch it. And as soon as I love her.
Yeah.
Because she was in other things too, right? Like, wasn't she in TerraVision or something?
I don't think it was TerraVision. She's been in quite a few things actually.
Yeah. No, there was a few things when I was a kid that I like. I mean, Better Off Dead is the one that stands out the most, just because it's the one that we love the most.
And I like the gag in both of these movies where Missy fucking bangs both of their dads, and I love that scene in the first one where it's like, she fucking brings them in like a grilled cheese while they're studying, and like the dad comes in and just fucking, they just start eye fucking each other, and he just hands him like $20, and then he just like does that fucking look, and then he shuffles him out the door. He's gonna bang him like his mom on his bed, and like the fucking look like Bill gives, like the look back he gives when he understands that's what's happening. He's like, and then the door just like shuts in his face. There's like so many great like time gags like that, just like perfectly timed, like executed gags. I love that.
it's the again that forced perspective. Like there's a real fucking visual palette with this thing, and the way that the dad's like right in the foreground when he's making that face at Alex Winter, like is part of the gag. Like there's so many visual choices that elevate the comedy in this one, and that's I just think it's a better. I don't know. It just walks a real fine line of cartoonishness and wackiness, and kind of capitalizes on all the strongest elements of the first film, while still being in the same universe as the first film. Totally, totally. And the characters are still the exact same characters. Like they haven't learned anything from going through history. They haven't learned a fucking thing. They're still the same exact fucking guys, and that attitude again rolls over to going to hell. But yeah, so do we want to talk about the third film?
Yeah, man, let's dive into the third one.
When your wives suggested couples therapy, do you think that this is what they had in mind?
Definitely. I mean, we're a couple of couples, right?
Bill, Ted, enough of the delusions. You didn't time travel, and you didn't go to heaven and hell. Here's a real idea for you. Be role models to your daughters. Get real jobs.
Bill, we've spent our whole life trying to unite the world, and I'm tired, dude.
Ted, we have a destiny to fulfill.
Whoa!
Whoa! Greetings, my excellent friends. We have a problem.
Step forward. A song created by Preston Logan, performed tonight, will save reality as we know it.
Oh! Dude, we better write that song now. Or why can't we just go to the future when we have written it?
And take it from ourselves.
Except, won't that be stealing?
Cheers! How is that stealing if we're stealing it from ourselves, dude?
Dude, our dads are totally in trouble. We should help them out.
No way! How's it going, Bill and Ted?
We're putting together a most extraordinary band.
Hey, you want to be in our band?
Oh, this is ja fantastisch. We're gonna go talk to Death. Is he playing hopscotch by himself? Dude, he's cheating. Hey, Death.
Why, it isn't the wild stallions.
Let's rock!
Be excellent to each other.
And party on, dudes.
Dina! Billy! Dad! How you doing?
Well, we're dead and we're in hell.
But how you doing?
We're good. 25 years ago, you played a concert in front of the entire world. 1 month ago, you played in Barstow, California for 40 people, most of whom were there for $2 taco night. Bill and Ted, what have you got to say for yourselves?
Be excellent to each other.
And party on, dudes.
You were supposed to unite the world and save reality as we know it.
Bill, we've spent our whole life trying to write the song that will unite the world. Why can't we just go to the future when we have written it?
Whoa! And take it from ourselves.
But isn't that stealing?
How is that stealing if we're stealing it from ourselves, dude?
No way!
How'd you like our song?
It's a little on the dark side, but that's cool.
So anyone who hasn't seen these films, I think the first thing our moral obligation to do is say that we will spoil this film, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So if you haven't seen the film and you're worried about us ruining it, yeah, we're going to ruin it. So if you want to go, we understand. But okay, after what 29 years of fucking waiting, well, one of us was, we get the film that's directed by the guy that did Galaxy Quest.
Yep.
Written by the same guys.
The same guys. So did the other two. Yeah.
You know, and you got William Sadler, you got Keanu, you got Alex Winter coming back. Alex Winter had to go and get acting fucking lessons because he hadn't acted in that long.
You know what you got from Alex Winter?
I'd say that, for the record, I think this might be his best performance.
Yeah, I want to say
more
that
demand on him.
Yeah, I feel like Alex Winter didn't fucking miss a beat in this. Alex Winter comes back and is just as energetic and just as enthusiastic as he is in the other two, and like manages to still take the idea of them being a little bit older and, you know, feeling the pressure of not having written the song yet, and like bring that into the character, but it still feels like Bill. Whereas Keanu Reeves for this movie fell completely flat for me. Keanu Reeves is just not in it in this, and I don't know if it's because, you know, he's a different guy and he's had some tragedy in his life and stuff like that, but Keanu Reeves just isn't in this movie at all. Like, he's just not there. Everything it's not the same character by any stretch of the imagination watching the other two, especially about watching them back to back. Like, that energy and enthusiasm that's in his performance in both, it's just not there. And I feel like that kind of permeates throughout the whole movie. Like, there's elements of this movie that I like quite a lot. There's parts of this movie that I like quite a lot. Like, parts of it, I was on board for, like the jailhouse Bill and Ted, where I love the idea that they're chasing future versions of themselves, trying to steal the song from themselves when they've already successfully written it. And like, it just leads down this rabbit hole of them progressively getting like to be shittier people. And the jailhouse Bill and Ted's that's a great fucking scene. Like, I just love that bit. Yeah, I like all the future iterations of themselves that they're running into are great. Like the one where they're like hanging out at Dave Grohl's house, they break into his house and pretend to be fucking like rich and famous, and yeah, all of that felt really good. Like, there's bits of that felt awesome. But just like Keanu Reeves in general, Ted was just not there for me in this one. And I don't know, what do you think about that? Did you notice that?
The thing that's interesting about Keanu in context is, and especially because I went back and watched the other ones, there was a time when no one in the world could imagine Keanu Reeves doing anything but being Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
And every single role that he did, to a point, even though he'd done River's Edge and stuff, which is still probably his best performance other than My Own Private Idaho, he got so locked in. And I remember reading an interview where he was kind of scared. There was a point where he was like, I'm really worried that I'm going to die and my epitaph's just going to be, "Here lies Bill." And, you know, and that's it. And that's all I am. And he, you know, I mean, he did like I Love You to Death, for instance, which is a great little film where it's him and River Phoenix pretty much playing Bill and Ted, because the chemistry between Keanu Reeves and River Phoenix is fucking amazing in it. And I mean, River Phoenix was originally going to be in Bill and Ted too. And I think, as much as I love Alex Winter, I think River would have done an even better job just because River's River. But what's interesting is Keanu so deliberately redefined himself as an action star, with Point Break and Speed and those things, and at the same time deliberately put himself in roles that were way out of his fucking class and range, like fucking ruining Dracula nearly, or Much Ado About Nothing is okay, but again, you don't put fucking Keanu in Shakespeare. But yeah, I mean, in Dracula, he's just so terrible, like terrible.
I watch Dracula every year, and I don't think he's that terrible in it. Like, he's got a noticeably bad English accent, but I don't think he's terrible in it. But
I think it's one of the worst performances I've ever seen in my life, and certainly one of the most miscast performances I've ever seen in my life.
I'll give you miscast, but I don't think it like ruined. I digress.
But yeah, anyway, so Keanu kind of broke out of the Bill mold deliberately.
Yeah.
And he's always been. I mean, his strength as an actor though is the low energy thing. Like, there's kind of that a more laconic. Like, he doesn't overplay things. And I think what's really interesting, firstly, is that aside from also he's been associated as an action star for so long, and so he became this physical actor, we haven't seen him without fucking facial hair.
Yeah.
In like 50, I was trying to remember what the last film was where he didn't have facial hair.
Yeah.
And because the John Wick image is so fucking seared into my brain, and when you got facial hair, you're not really seeing all of the movement, so you're assuming it. Whereas when his face is empty, the lack of energy, so to speak, came through even stronger because he wasn't hiding behind a beard. And you suddenly realize that Keanu looks kind of ageless with facial hair, but once you shave it off, he suddenly looks like an old man. Like he looked 10 years older in this film than he does in the John Wick films.
Yeah.
Because there's a puffiness again to his face and stuff that is hidden when he's got the facial hair. Because he came, you know, it's not like he went and got fat or went all method and Robert De Niro for this film.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I do agree with your larger point that Keanu's didn't bring Bill to life.
Ted, my friend, Ted.
By the
Ted,
same token, I think Keanu's experienced enough that he deliberately did it that way.
Well,
that was part of that ennui of midlife. Because whereas the first two films are quite subtle in those deeper themes and ideas, this one kind of beats you over the head with.
It does, and like there's that line.
Middle-aged failure at living up to your destiny.
Yeah.
You know.
And he has that line where he says he's tired. Like he has that line where he's like, you know, I'm tired, dude. But like, it's just, it's also just like not there. Like the I don't know, like the carefree pluckiness of Ted in the other movies just isn't there at all. Like, and the chemistry's like not even there. It's like, it's almost like when you're watching Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves interact with each other in this one, you can see Alex Winter is like in it, like he's there, like he is bringing that fucking enthusiasm. He's bringing his A game, like he hasn't fucking skipped a beat. But it seems almost like more like Keanu Reeves is just like entertained by the fact that you can tell he's having a good time, like being there, doing it, but he's just not that guy anymore, so he can't channel it. It's weird to watch. Yeah. Like you can see like moments where like they'll have like a good interaction, and like you can see like Keanu Reeves just sort of smiling to himself at the fact that they're doing what they're doing, but it's also not. It's not the character. Like the character is not there. Like it's just the kid. There's no semblance of Ted from either of the other two movies in this one at all. Like it's just, it's so weird to watch. It's a very bizarre performance and interaction between the two of them throughout.
Yeah, no, as I said, though, I did rule it up to him very deliberately making a choice to be that weary, because it, as I said, the themes are worn on its sleeve in this one, and that failure to live up to your, you know, the grand vision of what your future was going to be and your destiny, and the way that they've become observers of their own life, and you know, there's a lot of really fucking harsh commentary on our generation going on in this film.
No, there is,
and but it's obviously not painful because it's Bill and Ted fucking doing it, you know. But I do agree. I found that there was times when I was quite sad watching that Ted. You know, this one was the most emotional of the films. Like there was some genuine emotion. I think the other thing is there was very much a handing off going on in this film. There was very much a handing off to the next generation, to the hopefulness of the next generation.
Yeah.
I am going to say that Samara Weaving and fucking Lundy Payne steal this fucking goddamn movie. And Lundy Payne as young fucking Keanu, oh my God, is immediately one of the performances of the year. She was so fucking good. Those two just charmed those two charmed me the same way that Bill and Ted did in the first two films. And I think that they were given that mantle also by Keanu playing it the way he did. But shit, those two were fucking incredible. Like they were the thing that elevated the film for me. It would have been a 2.5-star film for me if it wasn't for those two just fucking nailing what they're doing, which is being an educated version of their fathers.
And for me,
Lundy Payne's fucking body language and delivery and eyes and Jesus Christ. There were times where it was just, I was mesmerized by what she was fucking doing and the acting choices she was making.
I think it was too much for me. It was too much for me. For me, like this was a 2.5-star film for me. And the thing with their daughters, like I thought I liked the characters, and I think they were different enough from Bill and Ted that that it worked in some ways. And their energy and their vitality for it was awesome. But I also think that Ted's daughter was a little too similar to it was just too similar. Like it was almost just redundant to me, where it was just like they didn't have enough of their own personality. It almost just seemed like a clone of them from the other two movies. So it didn't like I thought what they brought to like the story was cool, but like just like them in general, I don't think they had enough to like work with. I don't know. Like they were just too similar in body language and like the way they talked and stuff like that. It just I don't know. I just wanted to see something a little different there, I guess, rather than just sort of like rehash that.
But they added the intelligence. That was smart.
Yeah.
They were self-aware and they were smart, and that's where the difference is from their fathers. But yeah, by the same token, when you've got Little Bill and Ted, we established like there's strong personalities. And yeah, I mean, I can see why you'd think that, but to me, it's really hard to be too overly critical of these films too.
Sure, yeah.
Just because I think this one had the highest aspirations too. Like, I think this one aspired to more than the other two films. That again, those themes and ideas of hopefulness for the future and for, again, like what we were talking about with, pointing a finger at people like you and I and all that sort of stuff was far more engineered than the previous films. I did enjoy going through time. I love fucking NoHo fucking Hank.
I fucking hated him in this movie. The robot was terrible. I love him, and I fucking love him as NoHo Hank. As you know, Barry is fucking god, that show.
Yeah, Barry is going.
I fucking hated the robot character in this. I hated him so bad, and I really didn't like Death in this one either. I thought that they were both an extension of the same character, and I didn't like either of them. Like the fucking robot character, he would just come in when when it was just starting to pick up energy, and he would just come in and say something. I was like, is this supposed to be funny? Like, I don't even get what the character's like. I don't understand like what we're doing here with this character. He was just awkward and terrible, and he just sucked like the fun out of a moment in that for me.
But you do bring up one thing that I did want to say. That was I found this one nowhere near as funny as the first two films.
No, not at all.
The comedy didn't land anywhere near as well. Like the connection I had with the film and the things that I was getting from it were those other elements that we've been talking about, not the comedy. I think I also, because I didn't have the nostalgia, like again, like especially after I watched the first two films, I was like, yeah, I don't need this. So again, I was so satisfied with the two. Yeah. I was like, I know I have to watch it because, if nothing else, Fiona would not let me watch it. But I was totally satisfied. I'd eaten my meal, I'd had my dessert, and I was ready to kick back and fucking have an aperitif. And so going into it, I was already like, what is this going to do? And it's interesting you mention how they got around the ending of Bogus Journey.
Yeah.
How?
Well, they talked about the fact that she's like, you played for the fucking Grand Canyon and now you're playing for the Taco. It's like, no, she's like, no, you wrote great songs. You just didn't write the song. And like, I like that aspect because it sort of gets away at that. Like, so they did have accomplishments and achievements. And in this one, at the beginning of it, even, when they're playing that weird song, it's not like a shitty song. Like, it's still like a cool song and they're doing like weird stuff. And like, they're still talented musicians. They're just not like, they just haven't done that thing that they're supposed to do. But it is a little...
I guess I wanted something a little more on the nose exposition-wise.
For me, I feel like...
wasn't enough for me.
I feel like...
wasn't enough to justify this film. Because that was... to me, that's the first...
it's not.
The most important thing that this film had to do for me was justify its existence. And to justify its existence, it needed to have a clever way of telling me that ending that wrapped up so perfectly Bogus Journey that let us know that they'd already done all the things that they were meant to do and fulfilled their destiny hadn't been done.
Yeah.
And I agree that what you're saying is true, that's what that was intended for. It just was lacking to me. It was lacking. It seemed like something more to just hang some gags on.
Well, I feel that I can
justification
understand. I totally get like why you'd say that, and like I feel, for me, like that, I feel like that as an explanation enough is a good enough way to get around it and to make this movie and to make this movie happen. But the problem is like the other stuff that happens with the movie isn't good enough to give it that like pass. Like it's like, all right, like I can buy that, I can buy that reason, but then like the rest of it like is just kind of like especially the end, like the way it just ends, like, and then goes into like that weird fucking like photo montage credit sequence. I was like, what the fuck are we, with like this terrible song that's playing through the credits. I was like, what are we even, like, it just felt so like off from like God Gave Rock and Roll to You by like Kiss rocking out at the end of the second one to like this weird shitty like photo montage.
You get Steve Vai and fucking Kiss.
Yeah.
And then you get Weezer as well. Like, yeah.
Yeah, there was some really weird choices made in this one that just felt so fucking weird and flat. And yeah, like the whole Grim Reaper thing, like Death, I don't know, what did you think of Death? I thought he was really like, it just, everything with Death felt like really dragged out. Like you knew that the Death was awesome from the second one. It's like, oh, people are gonna want more of that, but they like give you too much of it, not realizing that like he's better left to like those little bit parts that add like to a moment of his being awkward, rather than like a 5-minute sequence of that, and then the fucking robot coming in and doing some shit that doesn't land. I was like, we're just getting fucking flat notes here for like 5 minutes all of a sudden. But I don't know, like, what did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that I did have nostalgia for, it was actually Death. It was seeing William Sadler again. And that did wear off. Like, now that I'm talking it out, because I haven't really thought about, we've both been so fucking busy. That's why we haven't been recording these podcasts.
Yeah.
And so normally I kind of think about what I want to say and kind of form an opinion before we do the podcast. Whereas I'm kind of developing it as we're talking about it now. And yeah, I'm leaning towards agreeing. And I've realized, like, no, Hank, you're right. It's more I like him and his performance, but you're right. What he's used to do is a little flat. And the same with William Sadler. Like I certainly, when he first appeared on screen, I was like, hey.
And the way they used him too, it's like him playing hopscotch by himself and cheating. I love that. Like he's playing hopscotch by himself and he's cheating. I was like, that's fucking awesome. And then it's just
yeah. And I do, and I'm realizing too that a lot of the things that I liked about the film were the conceptual element of it, not the execution of it.
Yeah.
It's the idea of going back through history and grabbing the greatest musicians of all time to make the song that changes the future is far more sensible narratively and thematically than having Kiss do God Gave Rock and Roll for You. The idea of it's great, and I like the idea, but now that we're talking about it, I am realizing that by the same token, the execution of it wasn't anywhere near as good as what that looks like on paper.
Yeah.
I did like the different incarnations of them, and I think possibly my rose-colored glasses on it was my expectations for the film were nowhere near like you.
Yeah.
But secondly, because I had an emotional connection to certain things. Like, as I said, this was the least funny of the films, but it was the most emotionally affecting film. Like, I actually cried. You know, like that when old Bill and Ted are in the home.
Yeah.
And that conversation, like, there's just a lot. There's some really good moments and some really good acting. Like, again, credit where credit's due. Keanu playing the present day role wasn't good.
Yeah.
But them playing the old dudes was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, just like I forgot how good they were at playing the nightmare sequence, like playing his grandma, Alex Winter playing his grandma in Bogus Journey and stuff.
Yep.
Like, so when they were playing the older versions of themselves or the jacked versions of themselves, I would argue that Keanu was actually most excellent in those.
Yep.
It's just in the current timeline version, he's overplaying or underplaying, as the case may be, that ennui that they're experiencing and that tiredness and that exhaustion and that thing that is said out loud. Yeah. I mean, I definitely It's okay. I mean, it's the weakest of the three films. There's no denying that.
Yep.
Ultimately, I'm going to fall on the part of like, did I need it? Definitely not. Did I want it? No. Was it okay? It was. If as a fan of the first two, will I watch the third one the next time I watch all three? I don't even know if I'm going to watch the first two again for another 10 years. So I don't know. But I think that if I did watch it, because that's ultimately one of the things that I try to rate a third part, especially in this way. Like, you know, let's put it this way. This was no Crystal Skull. Like, this wasn't pissing all over the fucking ashes of a great fucking series. But I still think that the first two are going to satisfy me enough that I probably won't need to watch this one again. And if I did tune in, as I said, it would be for the two girls, because their performance really did impress me and really did. They charm me. Like, I felt really warm and gooey. And I think part of it too is just, again, the world we're living in and the need for some. I'm finding that my cynicism and pessimism and generally poor, shitty view of human race is sometimes being superseded by my need for a little bit of sentimentality and nostalgia. Hence why I'm stuck in the fucking 80s and earlier for films and don't watch 2020 movies at the moment, which I need to overcome. So I think also that in a different context, I actually would have probably been hugely disappointed with this film. But I got to be honest that, I cried twice and I did have a smile on my face. But I am reviewing. I did say I gave it a 3. I'm going to go back to it's a 2.5 star, and the other two are 3-star films.
And for me, this one, the third one is a 2.5. The first one is a 3, and then the second one is a 3.5 for me. Like, Bogus Journey's got some legs for me. I really enjoy Bogus Journey quite a bit.
Yeah, I might agree with you. I mean, I clearly Bogus Journey we agree is the best of the 3 films.
Absolutely, yeah. 2-1-3. That's
2-1-3. Yeah, and then that's the thing is that if you like Bill and Ted 1 and Bill and Ted 2, then you do need to see the third one and make up your own mind about it.
Yep.
Because the other thing that I discovered is there's a lot of enthusiasm for this film around, which surprised me.
I'm glad there is. Like, if anything, like I didn't really like it's okay. It's not like a 2.5 it's okay, but it's also
it's
like
average.
But it's disappointing, especially because how much I wanted this movie to be better than I was really just had high hopes for it. And I like the premise behind it is solid enough, and like you said, like the ideas are all there. It's just kind of like the execution's just not quite. It's just weird, the execution, how it's handled. And it's just not quite there, and it doesn't hit. If anything, I'd probably buy this just to support them, knowing how fucking hard they worked to get this movie made. And I would probably do it just for that, just to throw it some love. But like if I don't know that I would throw this into the mix when I was watching I love watching the other two back to back. That's typically how I watch them every time I watch them. I don't know that this one would get added similar to like how you were saying. I feel the same way, I think. But.
Yeah, no, it seems like we came at this from totally different fucking angles, totally different expectations, but we've reached the same conclusion pretty much. It's interesting coming up with my opinion on the fly as we're talking it through, because it was also I saw it in the right viewing experience as well, which was quite nice. It was my it was literally my comfort food after a dental visit.
Yeah.
And we had a fabulous day, it was a great meal that we had, and we drank too much, and
I did the same thing. Yeah, I watched I went down to my girl's house, and we brought my niece down there, and we all hung out. We all ate a bunch of great food and hung out and watched all 3 of them, because like I took my niece to see back when I was doing the cult classics, I took her to see Bill and Ted on the big screen, both of them, because I did a double feature a couple of years back, and she loved them, so thought this would be a fun thing for her. And she liked it. What did she
think of the new one?
She liked it well enough. She agrees that the second one is the best one. But I think she liked. She said hers goes 2, 3, and then 1. The first one being the one she liked the least out of the 3. So.
Yeah, because I mean, I'd be interested to know what the younger generation thinks of the film, because they didn't grow up with Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
And certainly also what young girls think of the film, having ultimately the destiny of them is their daughters, not them.
Yeah.
Which there's an idea I really fucking like too. The idea of the USB stick being, Preston and going, it's our names, but it's not. You know, that's fucking cool. And I did like the multiple. There was a line like, you know, I'm infinite now, man, or something.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which I quite liked. And I do overall, I really admire the way these films could be so high concept, and at every single turn they fucking just veer totally away from that.
Yeah.
And never get stuck in the exposition trap. Like,
I think it's because if you do, it falls apart pretty bad.
Sorry?
I think it's because if you do, it falls apart pretty bad. Like,
yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Is that, like, when we were talking before and getting really critical of the film, it's like it's really hard to have a critical eye when you're looking at these films.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things that I'm always conflicted about is like the idea of, for instance, so if they're going in, there's zero jeopardy in this film. Because the mere fact that the future of them exists means that the apocalypse never happens, which means that we know it's going to end happily. But then it's like, well, it's a Bill and Ted fucking film. So even without that, we already knew it was going to end happily.
And the fact that, like, the people, like, that, yeah, and, like, exactly, like, you can't go into, like, the time travel stuff falls apart, like, once you even, like, start talking about it, so it's pointless, but, like, 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 exactly like you're saying, it's like, well, the fucking people from the future would already have the song. They would know which song it is because it already fucking happened. They could just fucking give it to them. So it's like, it all just, like, and the whole premise that's been built up from the other two movies is, like, that these people, like, that their music changed civilization and societies, and the fact that you can go to that time period at any point in time and that happens. It's like, well, that negates but you can't think about that because, you know, Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
It's fucking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And thankfully I was pretty comfortably numb by that point anyway, so I wasn't overly, I was willing to roll. But yeah, it's Bill and Ted. And so on the one hand, you know, you can give the film a lot of passes, but yeah, at the end of the day, you know, you're a mega fan and you waited 29 years for it and you're underwhelmed.
Yeah. But it's okay. Like I
was evidently a mega fan who had no interest in seeing it. And then, yeah, I was literally going in for the Galaxy Quest angle just to see if he did with Bill and Ted what he managed to do with Star Trek with Galaxy Quest. But it was quickly revealed that's not what they were trying to do, although they were at the same time. Like there was some really, again, you know, the ideas were there. Like some of those ways that they tore down Bill and Ted and sort of retrofitted certain things that weren't addressed in the first two films without actually being retreading them and stuff. There was, you know, there's enough to recommend the film. Like, certainly.
Yeah. I feel like everyone needs to
cheer for it. And
everyone needs to at least check it out to form their own opinion on it. And, you know, like, it's not like, you know, it's not a terrible film by any stretch of the imagination. It just kind of falls flat. Like, and there's some weird, it just doesn't have the same feeling that the other two does. Like, it's just kind of, yeah. But Alex, honest to God though, fucking Alex Winter, like, he fucking tries his heart out, man. And like, he really, Alex Winter is the fucking heart and soul of this movie. Like, he is the beating heart of this movie, like 100%. Like, everything.
I think it's his best performance in the role.
Yeah, because
of the demands that are put on his character.
Yeah.
Like, he has to reach for some things that I've never seen him reach for, and he gets it.
Yeah.
And I agree. He's the whole fucking pulse of it. And, you know, I also think that there's an element of possibly Keanu being the good guy that he is, letting that happen as well. Like, letting his buddy Alex Winter be the star of the show.
I honestly,
Keanu doesn't need it because Keanu's the megastar already, you know?
Yeah, no, he is, but like, I still feel like it's just like, I just feel like that Keanu doesn't have it in him to be able to pull that fucking, like with Alex Winter, it's just like effortless. You can see like he's so enthusiastic and happy to be there, and he's giving it his all. Like, Keanu's just kind of there. Like, he's just kind of there. And it's just not like he just doesn't have that in him. He's not that same person he was 30 years ago, and you just can't muster it up. Like, that just seems like that's what it felt like to me. He's just not that guy anymore, which is fine. But, you know, when you're a fucking movie called Bill and Ted, you need both parts of that duo to be present in the performance for that magic to happen. And just that's where I feel like it just doesn't have that. And Alex Winter,
I certainly can't debate. All I can do is just speculate on why, because it's definitely, you know, there's no denying it's there. There's no denying it's there. And as I said, especially when you look at it, old Keanu or jacked Keanu or any other version of Keanu in the film he delivers.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, that's Bill and Ted. we should probably head off and.
Yeah, I don't know that we have much.
Actually, are there any comments? I haven't actually been keeping track of that.
Just some of the stuff from earlier in the show that we talked about, honestly. And JB, talking about. I think JB and I talked a little bit earlier off the track here, but I think he liked it a little bit more than both of us did. But largely agrees that it's just kind of okay. Not great.
No, it's. Let's see. Yeah.
But I'd be curious to anyone else who's in the thread right now that's seen the film. What do you think? Feel free to chime in the comments below. And if you guys don't have anything else you want to say, then we can definitely wrap this up. Because
yep.
Yeah.
Well, it's been fun getting back into it after a 6-week absence or something. Like I can't remember when it was we recorded the last episode, but this new one was really fun. And we should try and get another one up online. As I said, I'm going to go away and actually watch. This time I mean it. I'm going to go and watch some 2020 films. So we'll have.
What are you gonna go watch?
I want to watch First Cow.
Oh yeah, I really want to see that.
I want to watch Greyhound because I'm a submarine fan.
Yep.
I'm not a huge Tom Hanks fan, but I'm a big submarine fan, and I've heard that's good. And I just love submarine films. Slim and Queen and Slim looks like a really interesting one. A Sputnik. Definitely watching Sputnik.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm very curious as to what your thoughts are going to be on that.
My buddy Brendan worked on a film called I Am Woman, which is the Helen Reddy story. I don't know if you know the song I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar. She's an Australian musical icon anyway. And there's a biopic on her that my buddy worked on, so I'm going to check out that. I'm definitely going to check out the Ren and Stimpy doco.
Yeah, man.
That's so good. Actually, they're the 2020 things I have been doing. I've been, by default, living in nostalgia, but I've been watching music docos like that Go-Go's doco, which is so fucking good.
Is it?
Where I learned so much about the Go-Go's I didn't know, even though I was a huge fan back in the day. Like I didn't know they were a punk band at all. I didn't know they like played with the fucking Specials and shit in England, and it's just really cool because they get all of the Go-Go's to be telling the story now, and none of them romanticize the past, and they're painfully honest about what tore them apart, and they're painfully honest about their own fucking inadequacies. And yeah, it was a really, really good doco, that Go-Go's doco.
That's I would say like that Ren and Stimpy doco does a lot of the same things where it really goes into. I really like the fact that it starts off really praising the creator of Ren and Stimpy and like all the how hardworking and creative and innovative he is, and then once you get out, I don't know if anyone listening is really familiar with that dude's history. He's got kind of a fucking scummy little past a bit, and it goes into that. And it goes into that a bit. And I wish the only thing that prevents that from being like a perfect documentary is I don't think it went into it far enough. Like it like scratches the surface, but I don't think it goes quite as far as it should have with it. I would have seen it like pressed a little bit more, but like it's such a fucking amazing documentary. I can't recommend it enough. But very similar with that, like really getting into both sides of. I love that you could touch on the aspect of an artist's pros and cons as a human being, and like not like get into it in great detail and how it tears relationships apart and stuff, but still look at it like objectively and have positive things to say about it. Because I think I love that. You and I talk about that all the time though, like as far as being able to objectively look at like something as not as a whole, but as like in separate pieces, I guess. So, but
separate pieces that form the whole, and and there's some of the best art is made by tormented souls.
Sure.
It's, all throughout fucking history, and there's no timestamp on that. It is what it is. As the fucking saying goes, that's shitty. Is there a lazier fucking term?
No.
No. By its design, it's lazy too. That's right. And it's delivered with such profundity. But yeah, no, I do. I'm always fascinated by that dichotomy in that thing. And I dealt with it, as I think we've touched on it before. I dealt with that when I was fucking 12 years old, and the Marquis de Sade and Lord Byron were my favorite fucking authors. Plato was a prick. You gotta. But by the same day, you know, the Marquis de Sade wouldn't have been able to write such fucking good shit if he wasn't a shit as well. So, you know, it's, and Byron, you know, Byron's just Byron. Hedonism defined and everything else.
The wackiness of the human experience and all of its flaws.
And so I don't, you know, and I also just think that to be creative, you kind of have to be tormented by something. Great. If you're wanting to express yourself creatively, you're trying to work out something. I mean, I don't know. For me, that's why I write, and why I love art is exploring myself, you know, through creativity. You know, it's not primarily to go, well, I'm going to do this thing to entertain other people. I'm a very selfish fucking person. That's not me. I'm not a giver. You know, so I'm not writing something to inspire someone else. I'm writing something to fucking inspire myself or discover something in myself, or, you know, and it's nice. It's a lovely byproduct. I crave fucking, you know, I crave admiration though, and I crave fucking compliments, you know, don't get me wrong. And that's part of my weakness, you know. But yeah, the art itself has to come from, you know, for me, and that's where all the great art comes from. You know, no, I don't think any great art was created by wanting to please an audience, you know, or
I guess that's
being
fair.
like, you know, I mean, there are probably exceptions, but those exceptions usually are innovation. You know, like, you know, Star Wars was deliberately written by George Lucas to be a fucking hit. But by the same token, the reason it was a hit was the innovation that went with it, with the special effects and with the use of sound and music, and, you know, and that's where that creative expression came from. But generally speaking, it's, you know, it's a double-edged sword, and I think that most artists who create really revolutionary stuff or really profound stuff, or, you know, and I think Ren and Stimpy had a profundity to it.
It's fucking, it's one of the most brilliant fucking pieces of animation ever created. It's
easy to dismiss it as this wacky thing, but the way it tackled depression alone, you know.
Yeah, that shows such an homage to everything that came before it, and also supersedes it by a fucking mile. Yeah. Like it's amazing how it honors tradition and makes it obsolete at the same time. That show is just such a fucking, it's so profound, and I love the documentary really goes into it, and like how a lot of the stuff that the creator struggled with. You can see it in his characters. Like a lot of the characters are reflections of like his dad, like the stuffy old 50s guys and stuff like that. There's some really interesting stuff there. I really can't recommend that movie highly enough.
And I will definitely watch it before next we speak. I mean, you've sent me a list of things I have to fucking look into anyway. But on that note, we need to go. We need to wrap it up.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up.
So thank you very much for tuning in. This was indeed a most excellent day.
It was indeed, yeah. And be excellent to each other. That's key.
And yes, return to
and so what are we going to come back with? Are we going to come back with the 2020 episode next, or what do we do? What do you think we're going to be doing next?
Yeah, I'm thinking a 2020 episode, but we haven't been good at sticking to our words, so this isn't on video. This isn't on tape. Technically, if you play this back, it isn't a lie. Because we're acknowledging we don't follow through.
We'll do our best to come back with the 2020, but if
do
not,
our best to be political without being political right now. So yeah, let's.
That's very well done. All right, guys, have a good night, and thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys later.
Party on, dudes.